The lone wolf does not thrive, guys. He doesn't. And if you fall into the trap of believing that he does, you're being deceived. The lone wolf dies. And I'm going to explain that to you. I'm going to prove that to you today. Because if you study wolves in the wild, even if you just know the bare minimum, you'll notice something very interesting. The lone wolf is rarely some dominant beast who left the pack because he was just way too strong for the pack. That isn't what happens. Men, we have been sold a lie, and I don't know how else to say this, but it's very frustrating when I look around and I see modern culture and society trying to perpetuate this idea that the lone wolf is what you should be working towards. Guys, it's a blatant, flat out lie. It's that perception of the rugged individual, the man who answers to no one, the guy who needs nobody in his life. He handles all his problems alone. He suffers in silence. And I know from experience personally and in working with thousands and thousands of men all over the country and world that there are so many men who are suffering in silence. They're hurting, they're struggling, they're dealing with depression and anxiety and addiction, and they're suffering but not talking with anybody. It's that guy who doesn't lean on anybody. And frankly, modern culture loves this image and it incentivizes this behavior. And that's why so many men fall into the trap of thinking that if I'm the lone wolf, then I'm the alpha. If I'm the lone wolf, then I don't need to rely on anyone else. And it sounds good until it isn't. Think about it. Movies that you watch, they glorify it, right? James Bond and Jason Bourne and the Marlboro Man and everybody that we look up to is bucking against the system and not working with anybody else. The stories that we hear, the books that we read, they all celebrate it. Social media rewards it, right? These are the Andrew Tates of the world. And even Andrew Tate, you can look at a guy like that and think, well, at least he has his brother. You can see the brotherly love in that. You see Jordan Peterson. I mean, he looks like a guy who's lonely, quite honestly. And I know he's done a lot of good for the world, but I think that's a lonely, lonely individual. There's other people who do have tribes, and maybe they do it in their private life, but they don't perpetuate it. They don't celebrate it. They don't honor it. They don't talk about it. And here's the truth that most men never probably hear is that the lone wolf does not thrive, guys. He doesn't. And if you fall into the trap of believing that he does, you're being deceived. The lone wolf dies, and I'm going to explain that to you. I'm going to prove that to you today. Because if you study wolves in the wild, even if you just know the bare minimum, you'll notice something very interesting. The lone wolf is rarely some dominant beast who left the pack because he was just way too strong for the pack. That isn't what happens. More often than not, that lone wolf, he's either young, dumb, and inexperienced, so he's not adding value to the pack, or he's old and he's injured, or he's exiled for his behavior. But either way, he's vulnerable in the truest sense of the word, not the modern use, the flowery use of the word vulnerable, but the real use of the word vulnerable. He's exposed. He's in danger. He's jeopardized. That's what vulnerable means, by the way. Because wolves were designed to operate in packs. They hunt together. They track down prey together. They protect each other. They survive together. And men are no different. But again, the only men who are isolated are young, dumb, and inexperienced, or old, injured, and a threat to the pack. That's it. And I'll be really frank with you. If you're falling into one of these categories, or if you're isolated, I should say, and you're the lone wolf, you probably fall into one of these categories. Young, dumb, and inexperienced, or old, injured, and a threat to the pack. And guys, isolation is the quiet killer of men. You've seen the statistics. I mean, look around today, and something is clearly happening with men. We're more isolated than we've ever been. We have fewer friendships than we've ever had. We have less brotherhood. We have less community. We have less and fewer organizations to bring men together. And the consequences are brutal. And I've experienced this personally. I mean, I've had calls over the last several days with guys who are in my band of brothers, my tribe, my mastermind, whatever term you want to use. And I've had some real conversations with these guys that I don't really share anywhere else. I don't share it anywhere else. I'm left to just sit in it unless I have those outlets. Men are dying by suicide at dramatically higher rates than women. Men report more loneliness. Men struggle more with addiction and depression and a sense of unfulfillment in their lives, purposelessness. But here's the question that we ought to be asking ourselves. How did we get here? How did we get to this point in thousands and thousands of years of human evolution and history that go completely against what evolution has taught us? And the answer to that is not just something that's accidental. It's not just coincidence. A lot of the systems and incentives, frankly, in modern life, they actually push men towards isolation. That's one of the things that we need to understand is it's not benign. It's actively attacking us. You know, if you had some benign growth on your arm, okay, like you can deal with that. You can have it surgically removed. You can have it frozen off and you can get rid of it. But if you have some sort of cancer that's just permeated every cell of your body, it metastasizes and it creates real problems, even death. And that's what's happening with isolation. It's not some benign happening taking place. It's actually very orchestrated. It's deliberate. It's intentional. And if you're not willing to acknowledge and recognize this, then you're lost and there's nothing you can do about it. So let's talk about these reasons, not conspiracies. Let's just talk about the incentives that modern culture and society has to keep us isolated and separated. Number one, isolated men are significantly easier to control. Flat out. Strong groups of men have historically changed the world, right? Every incredible thing that has happened throughout human history is because a group of men decided to get together and actively fight against nature or actively fight against other warring, vicious tribes. It's always a group of men who have changed the world. They've challenged corrupt systems. I mean, how many times have we seen that throughout human history? Even the founding of this great nation, the United States of America. A group of men, a small group of men, got together to challenge corrupt systems. They've resisted and fought against bad leadership, corrupt leadership, violent leadership. They've built revolutions, as I mentioned earlier. But isolated men, what has one man done by himself without having other men together? Now, look, one man can actually turn the tide, but at some point he's got to enlist others. Isolated men are easier to manage because they don't have the resources and connections that these groups who are fighting actively against them do, like governments, like academia, like pharmaceutical and the health industry, like the entertainment industry. How are you going to fight against tens of millions of dollars and unlimited resources to keep you subjugated? How are you going to fight against that? You can't unless you have other men in your life. They're easier to manage. But when men band together, when they're connected, it becomes infinitely harder because you have other men working together, sharing resources, leveraging resources, multiplying resources. But what they're looking for is they don't want men to have brotherhood. They don't want men to organize. The government doesn't want you to organize. Okay, know that. The federal government does not want you to organize. They will do everything they can. They will come after you. They will lie about you. They will imprison you. They will falsely accuse you. They will do everything they possibly can to keep you from organizing, because once you organize, you become powerful. Isolated men, they don't challenge authority. They don't build movements. They just cope. Well, I guess this is my life. I guess this is what I'm destined to do. They don't cope. or excuse me, they do cope by themselves. But a tribe of strong men, they're powerful. I mean, think about 1 million isolated men, individual, that's manageable. The government can manage that. Not only 1 million, tens, hundreds of millions, the government can manage that. But you get 1 million men together, marching shoulder to shoulder in lockstep, that's infinitely harder to manage. So that's number one. Number two, isolated men are better consumers. And if you've been listening to me in this movement for any amount of time, you know that we are, as men, to produce more than we consume. I think that's when a boy becomes a man. I can strip everything else away. You can strip away rites of passages. You can strip away biology, anatomy. You can strip away responsibility. I mean, you can strip everything away. And at the end of the day, a boy becomes a man when he produces more than he consumes. And that's why we have 40, 45, 50, 55-year-old men who are less manly than my 17-year-old son who goes out and gets a job and works and buys some of his own stuff and serves his teams that he's on and goes out there and provides value to the world. That's why you can see a 14-year-old man, young man, I should say, who has lost his father, who steps up and he gets a job and he supports his mom and he raises his siblings and he goes out into the workforce and he sacrifices education. That to me is more of a man than the 40-year-old who never got a job, who didn't pay for college, who sat in mommy and daddy's basement jacking off or watching video games or movies or whatever, and just hoping that mommy and daddy would support him through the eons. That's not a man. Biologically, we could argue he is, but in reality, he's not. Nobody would call him a man. And when a man lacks brotherhood, mission, purpose, what they do is they look for substitutes, right? We buy distractions. We chase around dopamine. It's entertainment. It's cheap entertainment, right? I live 2 hours from Vegas. It's cheap entertainment. I see these guys go down there and they're just cheaply entertained. Like show me a woman in a bikini and give me something to drink and I'm entertained. It's bread and circuses. That's all it is. And isolated men look for it. It's alcohol. It's pornography, gaming in Vegas or video games. It's endless scrolling on these damn little devices that are so amazing but so toxic. Consumer culture thrives on you if you're bored and you're lonely and you're directionless. Because if you're not, then you're not clinging on to this thing. You're actually living your life. You're raising your kids. You're going to the gym, you're going on hunts, you're going on vacations, you're leaning into your bride, you're doing all the things that you as a man ought to be doing, but it's this device and others that keep us from doing those things. Instead of building something meaningful, isolated men just consume, thinking that that's going to solve all their problems. All right, number 3, modern life removed all of the male spaces. I'll give you an example, Boy Scouts. It's a great example. When I grew up as a young man, I was in Cub Scouts. I did a year or two of Boy Scouts. It was the best thing for me because I didn't have a permanent father figure in my life. And so I had other men who decided they were going to step up for their sons and for me. And I learned about hiking and camping and starting fires and managing my money and learning about civics and all the things that come with Scouts. But then several years ago, and a bunch of people, probably not you, but a bunch of people mocked me probably 10 years ago when I said the Boy Scouts of America is dead. And then just a few years later, Boy Scouts came out and said, we're not called Boy Scouts anymore. We're just called the Scouts. All those people who mocked me, vindication, right? Like, this is not hard to see if you're awake and you're alive and you're actually experiencing life for what it is. Modern life removes male spaces. The likelihood of you being surrounded by men outside of military service and or post-high school education sports is nil. It's non-existent. It's just not available unless you're intentional about it. For most of human history, men have naturally gathered together. We worked together, right? We tilled the fields. And if my neighbor needed to be tilled or my neighbor needed seed planted and I could trade and bargain with him, then we would do that together. We went out and we built barns. You know, you see the Amish and they're out there on an afternoon and they're building barns together. They're putting barns together in a day. And then we fought together, you know, people from Texas and from California and Utah and New York and Montana coming together to fight against some villain. I mean, we had things like guilds. That's a word I haven't used for a while, a guild. Fraternal orders. That's a word I haven't used for a while. Hunting teams, hunting parties, tradesmen. Like these are words that we just don't hear as often, sometimes in some spaces. Guilds, fraternal orders, hunting parties, tradesmen. These were male spaces exclusively. It's where we sharpened each other. But too many of these spaces are now gone. And that isn't coincidence. The work we do is isolated. I sit in this room every day by myself. So I'm not immune to this, but by myself, yeah, sure, I'm on calls and talking with other men and having good guys on my podcast, but for the most part, I'm isolated. The community you have is weaker. I mean, how many of you guys even know all of your neighbors within a 4 to 5 house radius in any direction? And then men are subtly told that gathering with other men is unnecessary or even suspicious, right? Like, we're going to villainize these people. They're gathering together. It must be some sort of, Christian nationalist type organization. That even happened to me, guys. Some of you may not know this, but years ago, this was probably 5 years ago, the FBI visited me. I was out of town. The FBI came to my house. They knocked on my door. My ex-wife was there. Excuse me, she wasn't there, but I was gone, so she was there that weekend by herself. She wasn't there at the time. She was at the gym. And I got a ring notification, and I see this man and woman in a suit knocking on my door. I didn't know who it was, so I reached out to my ex, and I said, hey, do you know who that was knocking at the door? And she said, yeah, they left a business card. It was the FBI. This was the year that Joe Biden got elected, and the FBI left a little note. They left their business card, and on the back of the card, it said, I'm sure I could find, I have it somewhere, but I'm sure I could find it. And it said, please give us a call, Mr. Michler, or whatever it said. I mean, I was terrified, trying to figure out what in the world's going on. So I call the FBI back, and I get on the phone with one of their regional agents, and he grills me about what we're doing with this organization. What? Helping men become better men, helping men be better fathers and husbands and business owners and community leaders, and you're going to grill me about what I'm doing? It's an intimidation tactic. It's devious. It's villainous. It's vile. It's illegal. Like, don't you come to my house and threaten me because I'm trying to mobilize and organize men. So when I tell you about the government's desire to keep us isolated, it's real. I've experienced it. And as I got on the phone with this FBI agent, he told me things about my organization that he wouldn't have known unless he was deep inside my organization. Nothing bad, nothing wrong, but he knew things. He knew things about me that I had completely forgot. So don't think that this isn't malicious. It is. The government does not want you to organize. And then here's another point too, guys, and I'll get off that soapbox for a minute. We can talk about that another day. That technology simulates brotherhood without actually giving it. It's like masturbation. It feels really good, but ultimately doesn't get the job done. That's what technology does. Social media tricks you and other men. It makes you actually feel like you might be connected. You see people and you comment and you message back, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good, but it's not the same thing as sitting across from another man and having an actual conversation, a difficult conversation where he can look you in the eye and see your mannerisms and your demeanor. It's not the same thing as training together and sweating together and working together and struggling together. When I was in sports in high school, I never played college sports. I was undersized and maybe underskilled too, if I'm being honest. But when I was in high school, if I missed a block in football or an assignment, or I missed a ground ball in baseball, I was going to hear about it. I was not immune to criticism, and it was harsh. It was really harsh at times. But that's the point. It wasn't harshness for the sake of being a jerk. It was harshness for the sake of being better as a team. But technology, these little devices, the thing you're listening to this podcast on right now, is the illusion of connection. It's not real. It's not real substance. And there's a cost of isolation. There is. There's a cost of you being isolated from everybody else. Because what happens to men when they stay isolated is that they lose perspective. They lose accountability. Their standards, they start to slip a little bit because we can deceive ourselves, right? Because when you're alone long enough, our minds, it becomes an echo chamber. And I do this. I'm guilty of this. You know this. If you've been following, I'm stubborn. I can be black and white in my thinking. And I just find ideas and articles and concepts to support what I already believe. And so it just becomes this echo chamber. I can justify my bad habits. That's easy to do. I remember I used to be able to say, well, I deserve a drink. Really? Do I? Is that true? Because if I said that to another man who was actually in my corner, he'd say, what the hell are you talking about? But if I say that to myself, I can make that case pretty convincingly, actually. And so we start to tolerate mediocrity. We convince ourselves that everything's fine. We're good. I mean, go ask 10 of your closest buddies today. Hey, how's everything going? And all of them will say, fine, it's going good. Yeah, everything's good. And then if you just stop and you just stare at their soul for a second, like into their soul, the facade starts to crack a little bit. It's like an old stucco house that's got cracks all over the place. Those cracks, those fractures start to reveal themselves. You just stare at them. And then he says, actually, it's not good. My wife and I are not doing well. Or my kid is struggling. Or I just lost a loved one. Or I'm up to debt. I'm in debt up to my eyeballs and I don't know how to manage it. And that facade starts to break down. But that's actually what you need. You need it to break down because what's revealed under it, although is ugly, it's the truth. And you need other men to hold the mirror up and say, hey, I want you to stare at this for a second and tell me if you're as good as you think you are or as good as you're lying about being. When you don't have guys in your corner, there's no one there to challenge you. There's no one there to say, brother, what the hell is going on with you? You were so different. You were doing so much less than you're capable of. You have changed. I can see it. What is going on with you? And that's why brotherhood matters. And every strong man throughout human history has had other strong men. Again, history is clear about this. Warriors had units, right? Explorers had crews. Entrepreneurs have masterminds. Athletes have teams and coaches. The strongest leaders in the world have surrounded themselves with trusted men because strength multiplies in being close, in being in proximity to each other. You can't do this from a distance. When men gather around, the shared standards, the shared mission, the shared fulfillment, what they do is they start to sharpen each other. Have you ever sharpened a knife? I've got a knife right here. This knife is actually, believe it or not, this is Zach Brown's knife. He gave this to me, which is kind of a cool knife, and it's kind of a timeless piece at this point. But I sharpen this knife every couple of weeks. And when I sharpen it, the way that I sharpen it is I get a sharpening tool and I literally grind this knife against that sharpening tool, against that stone, and then that ceramic. And I get that edge really, really sharp. It's not sharp right now, which is why I can run my thumb around it because I use it every day. This is you right here. Like you're the knife. you're not following along on YouTube, you can see what I'm carrying right here. But this is you. This is me. This is a representation of who we are. And if I can run my thumb, again, if you're not on YouTube, and I can run my thumb along the blade like this and it's not sharp, then that's you. But if I were to run that thumb across that and it sliced my finger, then that means that blade is sharp, which is what a blade is supposed to be. You as a man are supposed to be sharp. You're not supposed to be able to do this to a knife. The same way that society is not supposed to be able to push on you without getting hurt. You're not sharp because you're not grinding the blade against something that grinds back. What if we did? Men sharpen each other. We challenge each other. We elevate each other. So what do you do? All right, what do you do? If modern life is pushing men towards isolation, then we have to actively fight against it. Brotherhood doesn't happen automatically anymore. It's just not built into the framework. It's not built into the system. You have to do it intentionally. So here's a few ways to start. Number one, seek out spaces where men improve. Where do men improve? I've talked about this ad nauseum. The gym, business meetings, and church. Period. There's no other place that men improve outside of those three places: the gym, the business environment, and church. I challenge you to come up with something outside of that. Now, when I say the gym, I'm talking about martial arts or strength training, even running clubs and organizations, cycling, whatever your thing is. Okay, that's what I mean by gym. The church, whatever your denomination is. I'm a Christian, Baptist for the most part. That's what I gravitate towards, but whatever your thing is. Business, it could be Business Network International, Chamber of Commerce, Rotary clubs, other business groups, masterminds that you're involved in. That's it. That's all they are. Maybe some outdoor, maybe I'll give you one exception, some outdoor clubs, that might be like hunting or camping and I would say hiking and rock climbing. That would fall into the gym category, but I think you understand what I'm saying. It's also communities like the Iron Council. Now, you might think that's a little hypocritical when I said digital technology keeps us isolated, but it's different if you're actually focused on something purposeful with direction. But regardless, anywhere men are pushing themselves and each other, that's where brotherhood forms. Very simple. We don't need to make it harder. It's the gym, it's business functions, and it's the church. Number two, do hard things together. We bond through shared struggle. Not small talk. I don't care about the weather. I don't care about your favorite sports team. I really don't. I actually don't care about all the things that we're supposed to care about, like, oh, how's your wife? How's your kids? Like, sure, I want them to be good, but I actually want to get deep, not surface level conversation, but doing something difficult together, training, building, adventuring, suffering together, because hard things create deep bonds. So if you're not doing difficult things with men, even in your church, I can't tell you how many guys I hear from who are part of Bible study, and they'll message me and they're like, hey, I'm doing this Bible study and we can't seem to get it off the ground. Yeah, because you're sitting around pontificating about, eternal life. Not even Jesus Christ did that. Right? Like, aren't you supposed to be like him? He didn't sit around and he wasn't singing Kumbaya with his disciples about life. He was out proselyting. He was out serving people. He was out healing. He was out walking and exploring and wandering and suffering. And then we sit in these climate-controlled Starbucks shops and think that, oh, there's 5 of us together talking about the cosmos, that's going to be better. No, it isn't. Jesus Christ didn't even do that. Be like him. All right, number 3, be the man who initiates. Guys, nobody is going to do this for you. There's not a man in your neighborhood. There probably is. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here, but there's not a man in your neighborhood who's just like going to create this for you. This is you. This is on you. So don't wait. Call up the local golf course and say, hey, this is Friday. Call them and say, hey, Saturday or Sunday, 9 a.m., can I get a foursome on 9 a.m. Sunday morning. And I don't even care if you have 3 other guys who can join. Just reserve it and then make the call to the guys and say, hey, I've got a group, 4 of us going out, wanted to invite you out. Maybe it's a hike tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. We've got a couple of hikes here that I really like. They're simple. One's the H Hill because I live in Hurricane, Utah. Another one's called Molly's Nipple. It's rigorous. It's short, but it's rigorous. Just make a commitment. Hey, I'm going to go hike at 7 a.m. and I'm going to try to get 5 or 6 guys to go hike with me. That's easy. You can do that if you're committed. Maybe you need to change the oil in your truck and you don't know how to do it. Call your friend who's a mechanic and say, hey, bro, I'm trying to change the oil in my truck. I don't know how to do it. Can you come over tomorrow, Saturday morning at 7 a.m.? I've got a weight rack from Sornex exercise equipment, who I highly recommend, by the way. And it's out in my garage. I could call half a dozen guys right now and say, hey, I'm going to do a workout Saturday morning, Sunday morning, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. You want to come over and hang out? I could get 5 guys together for sure. Be that guy who organizes the workout. Be the guy who invites men over for conversation. Maybe there's fight nights. I don't think there's fight nights this weekend, but actually there might be. It's the first weekend of the month. Saturday, there might be fight nights, UFC fight nights. Get a group of guys. Go buy a bunch of snacks. Grill some meat. Invite the guys over. Hang out. Enjoy. Let the ladies go do their thing. And you get together with the men Saturday night. Easy. But it's leadership, guys. It creates brotherhood. And the last point that I want to share with you on what you should do is make sure you choose men who tell the truth. Because real brotherhood isn't found in platitudes, in comfort. It's not just encouragement. Like, I'm your biggest cheerleader. I don't want a cheerleader. I want my significant other, my wife, my future wife, to be my cheerleader. I don't want my guys to be my cheerleaders. I want them to be my accountability. The guys who are like, hey, dude, whatever you're doing right now is not working for you. Hey, you said you're going to go to the gym. You've been slacking this week. What the hell? Like, we all showed up, but you weren't there. I don't need a cheerleader out of a man. I need accountability. A guy who refuses to let me drift. And somebody who, and this is the hard part, is we have to get over our own ego and arrogance, is when a guy says, hey, bro, I love you, but damn, you're not doing what you're capable of doing. What most guys will do is give them the either proverbial or literal middle finger. Don't do that. I said years ago, and I believe this to be true, is not everybody who criticizes you is your enemy, and not everyone who praises you is your ally. Some people criticize you because they're actually your ally, and some people praise you because they're actually your enemy. You have to discern which one is which. And here's the last thing I'm going to share with you guys. The lone wolf doesn't die because he's weak. I don't think men are weak. I think that the lone wolf dies because no man was willing or meant to fight life alone. We're built for tribes. We're built for brotherhood. We're built to move forward in life and progress in life with other capable men. And if modern society pushes you towards isolation, then maybe you ought to stop and think, maybe I should go the opposite route. It's your responsibility to push back. It's your responsibility to find your brothers. Your responsibility to build your tribe, to sharpen each other like this knife. It's your responsibility. The strongest men in the world are not lone wolves, guys. They're leaders of packs. They're engaged. They're serving. They're giving back. They're not subjugating themselves to consumerism. Packs move further and faster. They fight harder. And frankly, they just survive longer. And they do more. They're more effective. So a couple of resources for you. Again, I told you, if you want to do this locally, it's easy. I'll teach you how to do it. It's really easy. 3 things: the gym, church, business functions. You can do it on your own. And that's cool. If you do, I hope you do. If you want a little bit more direction, you want a little bit more clarity and focus, something you can actually do yourself, then what I would suggest is join the Iron Council. That's our exclusive brotherhood. Now, it is digital, but a lot of these guys, the majority of these guys are actually getting together for local meetups, and they're holding each other accountable, and they're talking every week, and they're texting, and they're doing Marco Polo, which is not a thing I do, but they're doing it and it's working. They're feeling better. They're growing. They're holding each other accountable. They're pushing and leaning on each other and making each other better. Guys are losing weight and starting businesses and rekindling relationships with children and making amends where they've messed up and getting promotions. It's incredible. Go to orderofman.com/Iron Council. The other thing that you can do, the third thing, is come to our Men's Forge event, April 23rd through the 26th. It's just outside of St. Louis. So if you're in that area, man, take a quick flight, come out, or take a quick drive, come out and spend 3.5 days with dozens of other men who are all working together to grow and build. And we're going to shoot guns together, and we're going to climb ropes courses together, and we're going to train jiu-jitsu together. But we're also going to be learning from Dwayne Noel and GS Youngblood and Frank Schwartz with F3 and Sophia Sam on overcoming pornography addiction and all the things that we deal with as men. And then we're going to break bread together, and we're going to pray, and we're going to work together, and we're going to talk about our struggles. We're going to sit around the campfire. We're going to fight each other, and we're going to come back bloody and bruised physically, mentally, emotionally, but stronger. And I would love for you to come out to that. Go to themensforge.com for that. All right, guys, there you go. I went a little longer than I thought I would. It's about 40 minutes, I think, at this point. That was going to be a 20-minute conversation, but I get passionate about this because it's worked in my life. When I surround myself with other men, I'm better for it. And when I isolate, I'm worse. Flat out, I'm worse. So I hope that serves you, and I hope it motivates you and inspires you to either join the Iron Council, come to the Forge, and or start something locally in your gym, in your church, in your business functions, and just be with other men. Fight the system, resist the system, band together, and you will be better off. All right, guys. We'll be back next week. Make sure you subscribe. Check out the Iron Council, orderman.com/Iron Council. Check out the Men's Forge at themensforge.com. There's my knife. Speaking of knives, check out my good friends over at Montana Knife. Now, this one's not, I hate to say, but they only have fixed blades so far. So I got to talk with Josh over there. But if you're looking for a good knife, I would highly, highly suggest MontanaKnifeCompany.com. Use the code ORDERMAN. You'll save some money, but there's a good knife company if you want to cut yourself with a knife. I can't cut myself with this one because it's too dull, so I got to sharpen it. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.